Well, hello everyone. We are here live on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm touching the Instagram button now, a little minute early. What we are doing here is called the Magic Q&A Tea Party with me, Madam Pamita. And oops, I was going to put my headphones in. Sorry about that. Wanted to get good sound for you guys. Okay. So here we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So this is the live Q&A tea party with me. And what we do here is every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, we meet here on YouTube and here on Instagram. And I answer your questions about magic, law of attraction, spell work, tarot, spirit guides, whatever you want to talk about that's magical, mystical, we'll talk about it. And I'll give you answers if I've got answers, which I have answers for most of it. Sometimes you guys stump me with something, but anyway, you type in your questions. We're not taking questions of a personal nature. So a question like, does, so-and-so like me is not going to be a question that's appropriate for this forum. That's more of a question for a reading, but you can book a reading with me anytime at parlorofwonders.com. So right now is the time to get in those questions, and we'll get to probably, 4, 5, 6 on each forum, Instagram and on YouTube. So I'm going to move my Instagram over just a little bit. Oh, hi, Joseph James. Oops, what happened? Oh, because I covered that's not going to work. I covered the camera with the phone. All right, stay phone. If you saw it, I said it's a little piece of cardboard with a rubber band around it that's holding my phone. All right, so let's say hello to everyone. So over on YouTube, we have Celu Sunlight. Hi, bonsoir. Hades Demure saying hello. Rusty Almondera saying hey, madam. Virginia Creed saying yay, I made it to the party today. Yay, Virginia. Hi. Irma saying hello. Castriot saying hey. Jamie saying, oh, Jamie, my friend Jamie saying hi. Colleen saying, oh, got a question. Okay, good. We got a question over there. Let's look over on Instagram and say hello, and then we'll get to our questions. Geneva, White Hellbore, and Pitchy, and Elise Albaraz, and Princess Karen. Hi. Made by Crow Tarot. You should check it out. Just Google Crow Tarot and I think it'll come up. Lord McTavish, my friend that I've known a million years. Hello. Charmed 113. Hello. A Skyfeather and Baby Orisha. Hi. Joseph James. Amazing Joseph James. Check out Joseph James 7. He also does talks like this, and he's the one that inspired me. So you can, if you subscribe to him on Instagram, you'll get his talks as well. He does amazing ones. Pink Ruby Mew and Reviewer TV and Joseph James saying hi, my love. And Miss Sheeran and Schizosaurus Rex, Jess and Styles 81 and Charmed One saying hello. Okay, all right. Princess Karen has a question, and we've got a question over on YouTube. So let's start with a YouTube question with Colleen, and then we'll go over to Instagram, Princess Karen. So Colleen says, hello, what do you think is the best way to learn about your past life? I love talking about past lives. One of my favorite topics. So I just did, if you know, I had a podcast a couple of years ago, and I only got in 16 episodes, and then I started writing a book and la, la, la. Well, I've just done 4 new episodes about for the podcast, and they're going to be coming out soon, very soon. I've recorded my part now. My guy is doing the engineering to make it all pretty. And then I'll have it back, and we'll be releasing one a week. But I have an episode coming up about connecting to your past lives. And what do I think is the best way to learn about your past lives? Well, when that episode comes out, it'll give you all the lowdown about working with past lives and how to get into them and ways that you can access those past lives. But one of my favorite ways for beginners is to use decks. There are decks that you can get that will start introducing you to your past lives. So some of the decks that I recommend, maybe I can even pull them out for you. If you hold on just a second, don't go anywhere. I'll get you those decks and I'll show you. Hold on. I'm still here. Not going anywhere. Okay. See, I have them ready. I have them at the ready because I use them quite a bit. Even me as an experienced reader will use these decks to sort of give some guidance and information. Don't use them always. Sometimes I just get the information in another way that I talk about in the podcast. But here's some decks that I use, and I really, really, really recommend them for people that are just starting to get into past lives and working with them. So the 3 that I have here at the shop, as you notice, I'm at my office today, not at home in the backyard. So this is my office in Highland Park. And this is where I do the readings and all of that. So these are the decks that I have here. I've got these decks and some other ones at home, but I'm going to show you what I have here. So this deck is called It's Your Karma Cards. It's Your Karma Cards. So there's another deck called Karma Cards, not a past life deck. It's Your Karma Cards are a past life deck. And so how these work is that they show you different time periods and different cultures. And they also show you something you probably can't see. Let's see if I can get up nice and close and you can see. If you look really closely, they have different roles in that time period, different jobs, different careers, different, status levels and, life experiences within that culture. So, for example, we have in France at the fin siècle, which is the grand siècle, which is the 1598 to 1715. Okay, so the Renaissance really in France is this one, and we have things like nun, male royalty, male artisan, female artisan, male nobility, female nobility, and so on. So the way you use these cards is you would put them face down. This is how I recommend to do it. Put them face down and then feel which one is coming up for you. You can ask a question about which past life you want to look at. I want to look at the past life that is going to be most helpful for me, is a great one to start with. Most helpful for me to dive into. And so you place those cards down, spread them out on the table, and see which one is speaking to you. And then pick it up and turn it over. And then when you turn it over, there's going to be one roll that's at the top because it's a round card. It can be anywhere on that wheel. So whatever shows up at the top is that lifetime in that culture, in that time period, and it will tell you what you were. So this one, I have Australia from 1600s to the 1950s, 1650 to 1950, and I pulled up male rancher. So from that point, you can kind of do a meditation or look within or do some work to sort of see what that life was about. Think about it. Try and put yourself in that role of the male rancher in Australia in the sometime between the 1600s and 1950s, and see what you get from that information. See if you can feel yourself in that body or see the scene around you or see yourself, even like watching a movie. A lot of people get a lot of different messages and a lot of different modalities. They may get words, they may get a story told to them about it. You may feel it or you may see it. So that's one deck, the It's Your Karma deck. There's another deck that I like to use too. It's a little less specific, but certainly helpful. And that is a deck called the Archetype Cards by Carolyn Mace. And Carolyn Mace's archetype cards talk about different roles that we have and we can embody. And it's kind of a Jungian psychological tool that we have here, but it can also be used to understand a lifetime and your role in that lifetime. What archetype did you epitomize in that lifetime? So for example, detective comes up, and the light attributes of detective are great powers of observation and intuition and desire to seek out the truth. The shadow attributes are voyeuristic, falsifying information, and so on. So you can get one of these archetypes, again, put them face down, see which one you're drawn to, pull it up and see what the kind of internal essence of that life was, whether you were literally a detective or that you had those qualities of the detective in that lifetime. And you can use this in conjunction with the It's Your Karma cards. So this one's called Archetypes Cards by Carolyn Mace. And then the last one that I like to use here at the office is called Past Life Cards. Now these are out of print because these were made by Doreen Virtue and Brian, I can't think of his last name, and Doreen Virtue has now disavowed all cards of all kinds. So these are now out of print, but they're still available. And if you go on to like Amazon and things like that, you can probably get them for like $20. So these have a little more broader kind of energy around them. So you'll see things like here's wisdom. Then we see something that's a little more specific, medicine man or medicine woman. Now we see something that's a little broader, trust and faith. So it kind of gives a flavor for a lifetime of the past, sometimes more specific, as sometimes a little broader, and it calls up your intuition. So health, I mean, health could be you had a health issue in that life, or health could be you were a healer in that life, so it requires a little more intuitive work to work with this deck. But if you are already doing that, this would be a good one for you too. So those are the 3 that I use here in the shop, and I recommend those and a couple of others in that podcast. So that podcast is coming. You'll have so much more information. This is great. All right. So let's go over look at Instagram. And Princess Karen has a question. So should I try a half-assed spell? Already, you know what my answer is going to be about that. From a person who I question their business ethics. Well, that one's a pretty straightforward one. This is a great question though, because it's like, it is telling us something. You're having a situation where you're working with somebody and you're not, like, something about it is feeling off. Your intuition is telling you it's off. And if you're questioning their business ethics, you're questioning if you're feeling something off, it is your guides. This is a direct line to your guides, and your guides telling you this is no bueno on this one, right? This is not a good thing to be doing. So listen to that. If you're going, yeah, I don't feel it, or what I say, like if someone makes you feel ill at ease, uncomfortable, afraid, anxious, or something like that, you shouldn't be working with that person. And that goes for readers, root workers, lawyers, clergy members, teachers, whoever. If you don't get a good feeling, if you don't come away feeling positive, enlightened, empowered, there is something that your guides are trying to tell you about working with that person, and you need to listen. Do I think anything bad is going to befall? Not necessarily, but your guides are telling you maybe this person isn't right for you, a good match for you. It doesn't mean they're bad for everyone, but if your guides are telling you no, then you need to listen to that no. If it isn't, beautiful saying that I love. There's a guy named Derek Sievers who owned a company called CD Baby, and he came out with this blog, and he once had a blog post that I just loved, and I use this one a lot. He said, if the answer isn't a hell yeah, it's a no. If you are not feeling enthusiastic about your relationship with your root worker, if you're not feeling enthusiastic about your job, if you're not feeling enthusiastic about the type of work that you're doing or the type of action that you're taking, then the answer is a no. It's just listening to your inner guidance. It's listening to that connection to your guides. So do that. So you're not getting the hell yeah about this person that you're working with. I don't know that, it's going to be the most productive relationship. Everything should be a hell yeah. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. It's no judgment on the person necessarily. It just means you're not a match. I know great people, sweet people, nice people, good people that I'm not feeling maybe necessarily enthusiastic about. That's all right. Then it's a no. The answer is a no. Listen to that. So you're just not a match with them. All right, so let's look over at YouTube. What do we have going on YouTube? Oh, Rusty Almendares says, what specific deities do you work with? That's also a good question. That's more like an interview question for me, though, but I'll answer it. So I tend to be kind of pantheistic, which is I work with deities that I'm a spiritualist, right? So we need to understand what a spiritualist is. A spiritualist is somebody who works with spirit guides, right? So I wouldn't call them necessarily deities, although deities can fall under the umbrella of spirit guides, and we have deities come forward. But, I have average people that were once alive come forward. I have people that have only been spirit. I have angels come forward. I have all kinds of variety in my pantheon of guides that I work with. So I don't particularly worship a particular deity. I don't go to a church or I don't go to a temple or do particular worship of a deity, but I connect on a spiritualist level to deities among other entities, other spirit entities. Um, I would say there is an umbrella of the universe that I use, which is I call spirit. Some people call it God, but for me, God has a connotation that is like a Judeo-Christian God in particular, because I'm in American culture and I was raised in that culture. So, and it has a masculine energy about the word God, which that duality of God, goddess is not really encompassing what I call spirit. Spirit is a gender neutral sort of term. And I don't see that connection that people have, which I call spirit, as being a gender specific thing. So I like to call it spirit, or I call it the universe, which neither of those have a gender. I don't worship at a temple. I don't worship at a church, but I connect energetically, and I connect to divine energy. So, and I'm thankful to divine energy, and I'm thankful for the co-creating with the universe. So I connect as a spiritualist to many deities, and they'll come forward to me and sort of offer their services. So it kind of goes with a lot of different paths, a lot of different spiritual paths, but I'm connecting directly to those deities and bypassing the traditional ritual around it, if that makes sense. So if I'm connecting to, let's say, Isis, I'm not following a traditional Egyptian ritual to connect to her. She comes forward to me, then we connect directly and not through a ritual or not through a tradition. So that's who I work with, a lot of different spirits, but I'm working as a spiritualist, and different, all different traditions kind of come forward for me, which as a reader, it's helpful because I work with clients that are from all different spiritual paths, and I see the spiritual truths in all those paths. Like I don't have, well, this one's better than that one, or this one is problematic, or that one, because I can meet my clients where they are, because I've done that work, worked with possibly, well, I've worked with so many different traditions, and not working in that tradition, but connecting to the deities of those traditions. I have a kind of respect for those traditions, if that makes sense. So I don't worship any deities, though. Interestingly, I connect with them on a more individual level, I suppose. So that's an interesting question. Your mileage may vary. Everybody is different, and nobody has to do it the way I do it. I'm just telling you the way I do it and what spiritualism means. So, all right. So let's go over to Instagram and see. Hi, Julie Vialta. Socially Awkward Succubus and Sassy Wed. Hi, guys. BB Beverly Hills. Hello. Avon Lady 310 and Teresa Lee to Duffy. Hi. I know Van. Hi. Peachy 1862. Jess. Lord McTavish has my little heart eyes. I love you. My dear friend since I was 15 years old and he was 14. Love him. Avon Lady. Hi. Joseph James, so sweet. Madam Pamita is the best. I think you're the best. Conjure Boy. Vicky Rivera. We're just saying hi to everybody. Hi from Miami. Oh, I love it. White Hellbore. Solutions are alternatives for drawing your circle when you don't have a space for a circle. Okay. So you're bringing up White Hellbore is bringing up a question about creating a circle, which is in a Wiccan tradition. I was a Wiccan practitioner for a long time, so I'm familiar with this. I don't draw a circle now because I'm not practicing Wiccan, but I understand drawing a circle. So let me explain to you that don't know what we're talking about when we talk about drawing a circle, just so you get a conceptual framework here, and then we'll talk about how you can draw a circle without having space for a circle. So creating a circle is a ritual tradition in Wiccan paths. And what it is creating a sacred space for doing magical work. So the traditional way is you start in the way I was taught was you start in the east, you go to the south, you go to the west, and you go to the north, and then you close that circle. Now you've created a delineation. You've created an area where you're going to do magic in that area and create that. Well, usually you got somebody that's like the high priest or high priestess that's going around and drawing the line, and you have a kind of almost a visual of where that circle is, and like, that 20-foot radius inside there, we'll do our magic. And then when we're done, we'll release the circle and let it go. We've let our magic room, our magic space, our magic cone go, right? We've created it, we've worked in it, and then we let it go. So the creation of a physical demarcation is actually pretty optional. So now I'm going to get into your answer to your question. It's not like you're drawing really literally a fiery wall or a wall of mist or a wall of whatever around it. It's a conceptual thing. So when you want to do work in a small space, let's say I wanted to work in this little space here, but I didn't have enough room to walk around this room. I could do a visualization of starting in the east and visualize the room, or even with my eyes, trace the room and go around and draw that space with my mind. You don't have to physically draw it. It's helpful for the visualization. It's helpful for the ritual to draw it, but it's optional as to the physical movement. It helps you to conceptualize that space, but that, in my practice and understanding, has always been optional. So you could, like, for example, one of the ways that you can create a circle that has nothing to do with going in the 4 directions and doing that work is that you can visualize your aura and pushing that aura out and making a bubble around you of, 8 to 10 feet, and taking into consideration all the furniture, walls, whatever you have around you, that bubble moving through those physical objects. So that's one way you can do it. Push your aura out, visualize that. Visualize going around the room without moving, right? You just visualize doing your directions if you like to do your directions, and that's how you want to draw that in. So there are ways that you can do it without having to move in the physical space. And moving in the physical space, I think, for ritual purposes where you're working with others is very helpful, because then there's an agreement where our circle is, right? There's a practical aspect to that. Well, if I'm drawing the circle out here, but I'm doing it with my mind, and that person may not be seeing it. So if you're actually walking around the circle, you're all in agreement onto where that circle is, and you all know where you're going to stand in and where you're going to work, and then what it means to step out of that circle or break that circle, or you're all in agreement. But if you're working on your own and you're drawing a circle on your own, you could do it so many different ways. So if you were working with other people and you're drawing a circle, but you can't walk around, so you could describe that circle. So the circle extends to all 4 walls of this room, right? There we go. We've just created a circle in this room. I'm going to the east, the south, the west, the north, and closing that circle, but it's going to encompass this whole room. Then everybody's on the board and everybody's on the same page. But if you're doing it by yourself, then you can skip that step of describing it. You can just visualize it. So hopefully that answered your question. Okay. All right, let's go over back to YouTube. Wendy says hi. Tinka says hi from Grushenka. I don't know where Grushenka is. I'm going to have to look that up. Omira says hello. Jennifer says hello from Houston, and she has a question about spells during the void of course of the moon. I heard no matter how desperate your spell is, the void of course will not work. Well, I'm confused. Here's what I will tell you about my own experiences with that. So what is a void of course moon? Well, if you are into astrology and into lunar astrology in particular, you'll be familiar with this. But if you aren't, the void of course is like I'm speaking another language. Void of course, what? So void of course means that the moon has stations where it's not in a particular sign. And when it's not in a particular sign, it's void of course. All right. So like we'll have our moon in Cancer, our moon in Leo, and then a moon may be void of course for half a day, several hours, maybe a whole day. It might be, day and a half, whatever. So it's void of course. Then the moon goes back into, Virgo, whatever, and goes on its way. So if you look at a lunar signs calendar, you'll see sometimes it says VOC or void of course, and that means the moon is not in a sign. So now what does that mean for you in doing magic? Well, what we have to go back then to what we're doing when we're using the signs of the moon to assist us in magic. Everything that we do can either assist us or it can be neutral or it can make things a little bit harder. So let's say, for example, you want to work with the phases of the moon. That's a simple one to understand. So the moon is dark moon, but it's getting a little sliver and bigger, 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 bigger. Finally, we get to a full moon. That waxing moon, when the moon is getting bigger, is good for increase, pulling something in, drawing something to you. Now, after the full moon, the moon gets smaller, 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 little crescent, and then it goes dark, right? That's a waning moon. Waning moons are good for releasing, letting go, doing that kind of work. So when we do work, let's say, for example, we need to make our rent money, but we're in a waning moon cycle, but we only have 3 days to make that rent money and we need to do a money spell. We can do one of two things. Number one, do the spell. You won't have the support of the moon, but you need that money in 2-3 days. Do the spell. Don't worry about having the support energetically of the moon and the sun and the sign, what sign the sun's in and what day of the week it is or whatever other support systems that are out there. Those support systems are helpful, but they're not necessary. So the same thing goes for the void of course moon. The void of course moon just isn't going to help you. It's not going to assist in your work. Does it mean it's working against you? Not particularly. No, I just see it as being a kind of a neutral flat space. So if you're pushing a rock, is it easier to push it on a flat level or is it easier to push it down a hill? Well, of course, it's easier to push it down a hill. So when your moon is in a sign that's going to be helpful, let's say you need to make that rent money and oh, voila, my moon is in Taurus. This is perfect for me to make money. I can push that rock down the hill and you're going to have extra support for your spell. But many people don't even work with the moon. They don't even pay any consideration at all. They work with days of the week. This is an old African-American hoodoo tradition to work with days of the week. And so working with days of the week is just as valid as working with the moon. You're doing a different system. So, you may do great work and not even pay attention to the moon. So the moon being void, of course, is not going to be supported. It's going to be neutral. It's just neutral. If you can wait until the moon is in a sign that's going to be helpful for your outcome, then by all means, wait for that sign. Wait for the moon to enter that sign. But if you need that spell right now, do the spell right now. Don't wait for something. If you can't wait, don't wait. And I talk about this in my book that is available on my site, 7 Secrets to Supercharge Your Spellwork. I talk about timing. I also talk about it on my podcast. So if you want my book, I have an email list where you can sign up and you can get it for free, or you can buy it on my site under media because it's an ebook. But if you sign up for the email list, you get it for free. I talk about working and when you should work and how you should work. I also have a podcast on timing of spells, and it talks about this too. But the number one thing is if you need it now, do it now and don't wait. But if you can wait to get these supports of these different structures, like the sign of the moon or the phase of the moon or the day of the week and so on, then do that. Okay. So yes, you can do spell work on void of course moon, but you're not getting support for it. So you don't have the extra oomph. Now, another thing to throw in here, if you believe that a void of course moon is not going to make your spell work, well, the belief is the issue, right? If you believe that the void of course moon is going to block your spell work, then of course it's going to block your spell work because you're holding that belief. So something to think about. Food for thought there. All right. Vicky Ariola, hi. Socially awkward psychic says, yes, queen. Why did I just dab there? My kids would be appalled at me. Charmed One says, I sometimes suffer mood swings during the full moon. What is a good way to deal with that? Okay, so your mood swings during the full moon, you're connected deeply to the moon. So I look at things like mood swings as like your guidance of what you should be doing. So if look at what you're having a mood swing surrounding. Is your mood swing surrounding being around people? Then that's your guidance, your intuitive guidance telling you, this is a time for me to spend in introspection or doing something I love to do. If you are moody about being at work, then maybe you want to arrange your schedule so that if you can not be working on those days that the moon is full, so that you can attend to your spiritual life, if that's what is drawing you in. But I look at that moodiness as a great gift, because it's telling you that you're highly attuned to the moon. And so working with the moon, as we were just talking about, working with the moon is going to be great work for you to do. It's going to be powerful work for you to do. And you want to tap into that. So listen to what your guidance is saying around the moodiness. What is the moodiness based on? Is it like you don't want to be around your partner? You don't want to be around people? You don't want to be, you want to be just in bed resting. You want to be out doing something in nature. You listen to that. So pay attention to that. And the moodiness is clearly the disconnect from what you're meant to be doing at that time and what you're forced to be doing, or what society tells you should be doing. So as much as you can, arrange for that. Like, let's say, for example, you're feeling like, I need to be out in nature, but I'm stuck in an office on the full moon day. So you don't have to quit your job and become a wild woman living in the forest, but you can say, okay, well, I'm going to give myself a walk in the park later on at lunchtime, or I'm going to go for a hike after work today. So I'm out in nature. So you can listen to that call, and that's going to alleviate some of the discontent that is the moodiness and where that's coming from. So I would look at that as a gift, though, because you're clearly highly connected to the moon, and working with the moon would be good work for you to do. So, all right. Let's go back to YouTube. So Ms. Hades Demure, hello. Is it true that using frankincense and magic makes your messages intentions clear? If so, how does this work? I love that question, because we can talk about one of my favorite things, which are resins, working with resins. So resins are tree sap, basically, in a nutshell, or plant sap. So frankincense, myrrh, copal, to some degree Palo Santo, though Palo Santo comes mixed with the wood, camphor, dragon's blood, all of these are resins. Okay, these are tree sap. And if you ever see frankincense tears, what they're called tears, they're like little granules, like you would see if you look at a pine tree. The pine sap comes in little tears coming out, and then if those harden and dry, they become then tears that you could burn on an altar, right? You have to burn it on charcoal. So all of the resins have a history of being very connected to spirit and connecting us up divinely, because they're magical, they're fragrant, when we burn them, it doesn't smell like a campfire. It smells like perfume. It smells delicious, right? So, I talk about this in the podcast episode where I talk about incense. I could talk about it quite a bit. So go back to my podcast, which you can find. I've been putting them up on YouTube, but you can also find them on my website, which is parlorwonders.com. Look at Magic Podcast and you'll find the episode about incense. So traditionally, people started burning, even in prehistoric times, figured out, oh, I've got this little piece of dried sap. If I throw this on the fire, it's going to create this beautiful smell. Oh, we need to do more of that. But what smoke does is smoke goes up, and it goes up into the heavens. And so it's connecting to sky god, sky goddess energy. It's connecting out to spirit realms. It's connecting out to those outer realms. So whenever you're burning incense of any kind, you're sort of almost on a collective unconscious level, realizing that you're connecting to deep spiritual wisdom, right? You're connecting up to that. It's the connection of the earth to the heavens, right? The days before flying, this was a magical space up there. You couldn't get there. The only way you get up there is by climbing a mountain, which is also, again, a consciousness raising thing. So the working with incense is like consciousness raising, right? It connects you to divine energy. Now, you can burn leaves, flowers, roots, herbs, whatever, but most of those, when they're burned, smell like a campfire. It's going to smell like a campfire. But when we burn resins, or we burn resinous woods like Palo Santo, we now get this beautiful, yummy fragrance. So frankincense, myrrh, copal, benzoin, all, et cetera, are all ones that are like this, have this magic about them. And they have this quality that we think of as like food for the sky gods, or food for the elementals and the those high vibration spirit world energy. So does it make your messages, intentions clear? I don't know that it is defined by clarity, but it is defined by your connection to the higher realms. So like the things that you're, if you're working on a spiritual level and you're working with deities, and particularly sky deities, it's going to connect you up to those. And that's, what are the Judeo-Christian, the Jewish and Christian traditions are sky gods. So, other traditions have gods of the earth, gods and goddesses of the sky, gods of the earth, gods and goddesses of the water, and so on. But the incense is connected us to the air entities and to the sky gods and goddesses. So is it clear? It's just a nice way of connecting to the spirit realm that is somehow in our collective unconscious. This is an old kind of really old working, like prehistoric working, and it's been around forever. So as many lifetimes, and it's in every culture, by the way, too. So as many lifetimes as you've lived, you've always had this incense being a part of your lifetime. So that's a lot of deep information that you personally can pull up around this, Let's see what we've got going on Instagram. Hi, Pisces Hippies here, and Leech Wife, and Ray Ortiz, and Bridget Barbie, and let's see, Baby Bell Bottoms. Hi, everybody. Sonia 22. Grab your hat. It's time to go to Madame Pamita's show, says Pisces Hippie. I have a little record of old-timey music that I made. Jose P.E. Morales Baez. Hi, I've got the world on a string joined. Keys Love joined. Girl in the Human Body joined. I loved your post earlier this week. It was so cute. Steph Dorr joined. Okay. Julie Vialta asked a question. Can I perform a banishing spell during a waxing moon? Well, we just kind of talked about that, so we'll just give a little review of that. So banishing work is best done when the moon is waning. You get support from the moon for your banishing work when the moon is waning. If you are doing banishing work during the waxing moon, and you have to do it during the waxing moon, then you better get some support from somewhere else, meaning it should be like on a day of the week that is helpful for banishing, which Tuesday is a great one for that. Saturday is a great one for that. Or you should get support from maybe the what sign the moon is in. So good signs for banishing would be like Pisces would be a good one because that's the last sign of the zodiac. Scorpio would be a good one for banishing. Like, I want this out. And Scorpios are great at cutting things loose when they need to be cut loose. They're very, very patient, very tolerant, but when they cut it loose, they cut it loose. So look for your moon being in those signs, or the sun being in those signs, or the days of the week to help support you, because you're not getting the support from the phase of the moon. You can ignore it all and just do the banishing and go. But if you are going to be doing work and you have an option, you can either wait till that moon is waning, which is great support, or you can look at those other modalities, days of the week, astrological signs, and so on. Okay. All right. Colleen says she can't wait for the podcast to come back, and the podcast episode about past lives is great. I'm happy with it. I think you're going to love it. All right. Rusty is saying that's a great question to Colleen. That's a great one. Okay. Selu Sunlight Anu World. Have you worked with aliens or other planetary beings? I have not worked with aliens or other planetary beings, but I have worked on a one step away, 1 degree of separation level with aliens, because I've had clients who've had alien contact and alien spirit guides that they work with. And so I've worked with their spirit guides and downloaded information from their spirit guides. And so I've worked with them on that 1 degree of separation level, but I haven't had any aliens come forward yet in my spirit guide council. It doesn't mean that they won't come forward at some point, but I just haven't had any that have come forward yet for me. but I have worked with them with my other clients. And I think that there are lifetimes where you go back in past lives and you can be, it doesn't mean that all your lives are lived here on Earth. You can have lifetimes on other planets, other, solar system, galaxies, and whatever. So your soul is eternal and doesn't know time and space. So that possibility totally exists for many people, that they've had lifetimes not on planet Earth, and will have lifetimes in the future. Let's see what we've got going on. Cody Carr, thank you. My purple is very faded right now, but I'm going to get it done next week. Next time you see me? Yeah, next time you see me, I'll have beautiful, bright purple hair. T. Haiti Baby, hi. Gypsy Mermaid, hi. Kali Kirsten and Tatiana Lett, hi, guys. Grillo del Punk, hi. Love my purple hearts that you're sending. Life's a Trip. All right. Ali 22, Rebo Glow, Rifa Fakir, Millie Cam, Madrana. Boy, a lot of people. Trena Pants. I'm probably saying your name so wrong, you guys. I'm so sorry. Kitchen Raptors. Hi. Seven Wrens. Hi. Frankly Scarlet, Dulcie Moonchild, Mary Cat. And we got a question from And Candelaria. Hi, hey Pamita, I casted an attraction spell and I think of me spell, and it's been a few months. I see his name everywhere, sometimes 6 times a day. I haven't seen any movement with him. Okay, this is great. So Anne Candelaria brought up a question that we brought up in past episodes of our podcast. I'm calling this a podcast. What do I call this? A vlog? I don't know. Me getting together. It's my tea party. We've talked about it at the tea party before, about when you do spell work, when you should be looking for results and what you should be looking for. So when you're doing a spell, if you're doing a candle spell, candle is complete, then you should be looking for signs. And signs are like seeing his name, seeing a special number, hearing his name, whatever. In your case, that's what we're talking about. Within 3 weeks of that candle, those should be happening within the first few days, right? You should be getting signs immediately as soon as you finish that candle that something's cooking. Now, those aren't signs from the person directly, but they're signs from the universe that are connecting you to that person and saying, go, go, go. Now, within a few weeks, you should be getting movement, meaning that person would like something on your Facebook, send you a text message. It's not the end result of what your spell work is, but it is a move in the positive direction, right? So another example, if you're doing a spell for a new job, doing a job of like you might get an interview. It doesn't mean your job is there, but you're starting things. They're coming back to you. People are coming back and say, come in for an interview. Let's check you out. La, 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 la. Okay. Those are movement. Movement in money would be little bits of money coming in, or, things being taken care of, but not completely your entire money spell completion. Then we see the completion of our spell work within 3 months. Now, within 3 months, that's a key. Within is the key word there. It can happen actually from day 1 anywhere to 90 days from the time you complete your spell. That's when you should see your final culmination. But if you aren't seeing movement or sign, if you aren't seeing a sign within a few days, or you're not seeing movement within a few weeks, or not seeing the final culmination of the result within a few months, then you need to go back to the drawing board and try something different. So in the situation of a love spell, for example, you've done 2 candles. So doing candles may not be the solution to this kind of work. So not that I'm looking at your case in particular, but I'm talking about in general. If candles don't seem to be pushing it forward, but you're getting yes, but you're not getting the like the movement, then what you need to be doing is trying something else. So many other workings that you can be doing, right? Let's look at what those could be. Candle spells 1. Okay, we're done that. All right. Not seeing great result. We're seeing some yeses, but not really seeing a movement. All right. So let's try something else. What about a mojo bag? What about a working with sachet powder? What about working with an oil? What about doing a cleansing bath and then doing a love spell? What about doing a honey jar? What about doing working on a puppet? I mean, there's numerous things. And if you go I mean, if you are like stuck and you don't know what to do, go over to my website and go to hoodoohowto.com, or go to my website and look at the how-to videos, and you'll get a ton of ideas for different things that you do. Now, there's a lot of candle spells on there because I'm a big advocate of candle work, because candle work is powerful and it shifts energy quickly. But there's all kinds of other things that I have there. Mojo bags, I have, poppets, I have all kinds of things that you can work on. So what this is telling me, if you have some kind of issue where you're getting signs, but you're not getting movement, and this goes for everyone and any kind of spell, go back and do something different. Don't try and keep doing the same thing, because the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. If you're not seeing a result, then go try some other methodology. Go try a different modality. There's sneaky work that you can do. You could be, there's all kinds of things that you can be doing. So go back and look at those other things and see what you are drawn to, or take a pendulum and get a yes or no. Should I do a mojo bag? No. Should I do a poppet? Yes. Okay, then that's the one that I'm going to do. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can do that, or go get a reading and see what will be helpful. That's another way of getting direct answers. So there you go. All righty. So let's look at back to YouTube. Liz Fox says, greetings from Scotland. Liz, I love Scotland. I love Scotland. I was all over the Hebrides, the Outer Hebrides, looking at the stone circles in Scotland. And I spent time at Findhorn, which is a beautiful retreat, magical, mystical retreat center in Scotland near Inverness. So I love Scotland. So hi, Liz. Okay, Wendy. Hi, Madam Pamita. Love your podcast. After having spells done as the client, what should we do to help the spell manifest? Any tips or advice? Do we need to raise our vibration? Thanks. Oh, this is great. Yes. Okay, let's talk about spell work. If you're hiring somebody to do spell work, you can legitimately actually just let it go. Sometimes just letting it go is enough. Like don't fret on something. Don't worry on something. Just go, spell work's doing its thing. I kind of liken spell work to putting a cake in the oven. You put the cake in the oven and you let the oven do the baking. Don't open the oven door 15 times while that cake is baking. You're going to ruin your cake, right? Let the spell work do its thing. Do nothing. Do nothing. Then you are doing no harm to your spell. Now, if you're obsessing about your spell negatively, oh, it's not working. Is it working? Is it not working? I don't see anything. Oh, blah, 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 blah. That's not helpful. So you want to avoid that. So baseline, just let the root worker do your spell work. Let the root worker do. Just let it go. Now, if you want to help and support that, and you're feeling like a strong energy of like, you know what, I can do this too. You can do a complementary or the same working for yourself. So let's say someone's doing a candle for you on their altar, and let's say you're doing a prosperity spell. They're doing a prosperity candle for you on their altar. You could be doing a success candle, or you could be doing another prosperity candle, or you could be doing a money draw candle on your altar. When, they say, there's a phrase I think it's in the Bible, when two or more are gathered, right? When you're bringing energy of people together, why do people worship together? Why do people come together to do magical work together? Because that power of more energy than one person working on it is going to exponentially send something stronger. So baseline, do nothing. That's totally fine. Let your root worker do the work and just let it go, or support that work by doing a complementary candle. Now, it's very easy to do a candle. This is like candles nowadays. You don't even have to prepare anything. There's pre-prepared candles. So like the vigil candles that I sell, and the kind of the candles from Coventry Creations that I sell, those candles have the oils and the herbs in them to support whatever outcome. So you don't even need to have oils. You don't need to have herbs. You don't need to have any of that stuff. It's all prepared for you, ready to go. And all you have to do is light it and also let that go. You can speak your intention. You can say affirmations every day. So if you're doing, let's say, for example, the prosperity spell that I give in our example, you could say every morning an affirmation, every day and every way. I am drawing prosperity to me, and I am abundant. What a beautiful affirmation to say for yourself. What a beautiful gift to give to yourself. So thinking about that, those are things that you can do that are very supportive. And the affirmation is quite powerful, even if it feels like fake, like maybe you feel super poor, but saying the affirmation will start to shift that energy. So you stop feeling poor. So you start feeling your abundance coming. So you start feeling in that sweet spot of eager expectation of your good outcome. That's really where we want to get to, right? That's the place we want to get to, is that eager expectation that my prosperity, my love, my success, my career, my whatever is coming to me. So affirmations are quite powerful. So create an affirmation for yourself. Do a candle, do that work that's supporting it, or do nothing. Just let it go. That's not a bad thing to do. Root workers have discussions, and we all say, like, you know what, just let the candle do its work. And we try and encourage our clients to sort of, stop fretting about the candle work, okay, calm it down and let the candle do its thing, It's good advice, even if you're doing your own candle spell, All right. Socially awkward succubus. Can you expand on numerology? You mentioned it in your podcast. Yes. And I think I have a really good blog post. So you guys, I've got, if you haven't clued in to all these free things that I offer online for your education in magic and root work and spell work, I love being a teacher. This is part of my higher karma, is to be a teacher and to show you guys how to bring in your best life. I love success stories, and I love people creating their own success stories and teaching them how to do it. So this is like one of the things that makes my life a joy. So I give you tons of free information. And one of the things I have, of course, is the podcast. Another thing I have is the videos. Another thing that I have is my blog. So on my blog, which I have to admit is on the site that we have now, it's a little awkward because you have to scroll down. You have no way of just sort of jumping around. You have to scroll down and look at them all. But if you scroll down, you'll get to one which is talking about connecting to your spirit guides through magic numbers, which is a very good thing for numerology. But your guides will send you numbers, and cluing into what those numbers mean can give you hints about what your guides are trying to tell you. So let's say, for example, you see 222 on the clock, on the digital clock. Twos are the number of partnership, union, love, romance, relationships, connection to others, and so on. So if you see those twos, there's a message for you about that, right? Pay attention to your relationships. Pay attention to that, or something's coming to you. Be awake and aware to see those opportunities coming to you. If you go onto that if you go onto that blog posting, you'll see there's a chart about numbers and the numerology. So there's a real shorthand way of understanding the basics of numerology. And this is something that is such a fascinating thing to research. There's plenty of places where you can look online and you can find a ton of information and deep information about numerology, but just understanding the basics of the different numbers of 0 through 9 and understanding what they mean can help you to start to get messages. But here's something I'm going to give you about numerology that's great that you can do today, and you're going to find something fascinating about yourself. If you add up the day, the month, and the year of your birth, you will find your soul number. Okay? So, day for me is 5. 7 is my month, July. My birthday's coming up, everybody. We'll be celebrating in 2 weeks here. 7, 5 day, 7 is the month, and 1964 is my year. Okay? 1964. So if you add up 5, 7, 1, 9, 6, and 4, you get a number. And if that number has 2 digits, which it will, then you add those 2 digits together. I think mine is 23 or something. I think it's 23. Anyway, it reduces down to a 9. So if it's 23, you add 2 plus 3, and that equals 5. You get your soul number. And my soul number is 5, right? So understanding the number 5 by looking at that chart, I can understand something about my soul purpose here in this life. What am I meant to be doing? You can also, here's another secret thing you can do. If you're a tarot person, if you're into tarot cards, look at the major arcana and look at the number of your, look at the card that corresponds to your number. So for me, the number 5 card is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is the spiritual teacher, the guru, the teacher of traditional wisdom. What do I do for a living? I teach spiritual wisdom. I teach people how to access their highest spiritual goals, how to change their lives, how to connect spiritually. You will discover things when you understand your number and numerology and look at the tarot, understand things about yourself and your purpose and your soul purpose in life. So if you want to find out, what am I here for? What am I meant to be doing? Take it add up your birthday and then look at your card and also look at the meaning of that number. So the number 5 is also the explorer, the one who's going out there and venturing out there. So what do I love to do? I love to travel. I love to explore new things. I love to try new things. I love to dive into new things. So I can see those two very, very active in my life. And as a result, when I've discovered that being a teacher was my role, I thought it meant being a school teacher. And I was a school teacher, believe it or not, when I was in my 20s. I was a school teacher. But it was kind of good, but then it wasn't quite right because I wasn't teaching spiritual wisdom. I was teaching English as a second language. I was teaching science to middle schoolers. I was teaching things that I loved, and I loved my students, but something was not quite the match because I wasn't teaching spiritual wisdom, but it gave me a great background for being a teacher for you now. So I'm so thankful for that path because it helped me to be a good teacher in all other aspects. When I start teaching magic and tarot and all these other things, it helped me with those skills. So do that numerology and you'll be fascinated. I'd love to hear, let's do that next week. If you're here and watching this now or watching it and repeat on YouTube, find out what your spiritual number is and then find out what your tarot card is in the major arcana and see if that doesn't correspond. And let's do a check-in about that next week. All right. So, Jamie Shuey, hi. It's my friend. She says, what is shadow work? That's a good question. So shadow work is working on the parts of us that are not visible. The parts of us that we like to keep hidden because we're embarrassed or ashamed of them, or they're not pretty. And we all have a shadow. We all have a shadow. So our shadow self, we want to do shadow work to integrate that or make peace with that shadow self. The shadow part of you is probably the part of you that you're not terribly proud of. The shadow self is doing the things that may be ego-based, a lot of it. But we want to make friends with that shadow. Why? Because when you push something down, what you resist persists, right? You've all heard that. Well, hopefully you've heard that saying before. We resist persists. So we push that shadow down. It's going to pop back in ways that is going to be out of control. So we want to integrate that shadow and integrate that shadow self with us, make friends with it, make peace with it, and understand it, and kind of accept it, but don't let it take charge. So that's shadow work in a nutshell. My time is going to run out, so I can't really get into too much more about that. If you had a question that didn't get answered in this episode, please come back next week, next Sunday, 5 p.m. Pop in early as you can and try and get those questions in so that we can get to your question. I usually get to the first, half dozen or so on each side. So depending on how long and involved they are. So get those questions in early. Come back next week. We're here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Me and my guides are here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So I hope to see you again. New podcast episodes coming soon. Maybe even this week if my guy finishes them this week. Going to have some new videos up on YouTube. I did those a couple weeks ago and he's working on those now. What else do I have coming up? I think that's it. So hopefully we'll see you around. Love you guys so much. I'm so grateful to all of you being here. This is like I have the best time. I hope you have a good time. I know I'm having a ball hanging out with you and talking with you and getting your feedback and questions and all the love you guys give me. You're just the best. And so hopefully you'll see you again next Sunday or any subsequent Sunday. We'll keep it going. And next Sunday I'll have purpler hair. Going to have my hair done, freshly done on Thursday. So I'll be glamorous, maybe as glamorous as I can get. I don't know. Thanks so much, you guys. I know there was something else I wanted to tell you, but I can't remember what it is, but I guess I'll wait till next week. See you next time. See you at 5 p.m. Pacific next week. Bye. Have a magical week. I love you. I love you. I love you. I send you all kinds of bubbles of love. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye, Instagram. You're going away in 3, 2, 1. Bye. There you go. YouTubers, we get a little extra minute here. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to keep this up on YouTube permanently. Got some new YouTube videos coming up. So make sure if you are on YouTube that you subscribe to my channel so you know when we're doing these, you know, when these get popped up. You also know when we're going to be doing, when I put up a new video and so on. The subscriptions totally help me. Believe it or not, I'm going to say something a little bit about YouTube. When you have a subscription level, the higher your subscription numbers, the more YouTube helps you with your channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, because that will help me get help from them, because Lord knows again soon. Take care. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you again next Sunday. Bye. Bye. Bye.